Hey, what's up everybody? It's Vodka here again with another video for my Fighting Game 101 series. And today I'll be talking about the topic of being afraid to push yourself. In order to improve ourselves in a lot of aspects of our lives, including fighting games being one of them, that's why you're here, is the need to actually push ourselves beyond our comfortable levels. What we tend to like to do is we tend to stick to what we know, and because that's comfortable. Pushing yourself is very hard because it forces yourself to expend a lot of mental energy in order to learn and get better at things. And fighting games is one thing that you need to be constantly learning and trying to get better at yourself, trying to constantly adapting and learning new things. And what we tend to want to do is just to stick with what you know. But I want to acknowledge that despite that, if you decided that you want to pick up this genre, that in itself is actually pushing yourself past your comfort level, because people know fighting games is a difficult genre. It's a very niche genre. It's not as popular because it is difficult. And having decided that you want to actually sit down and learn these games, even though they are hard, is in itself pushing yourself past your comfort level. So for new players, I tend to see some mistakes they make is that they tend to gravitate towards talking about the meta of the game immediately and wondering who the top tiers are and what's the quick way for them to start beating up on other players, how to win, because ultimately the goal is to win. But you want to, I think, avoid this trap of thinking you have to know the meta immediately, always talk about who the top tier are and pick the strongest character. Because what happens is with these people, they might pick the top tier character and abuse whatever makes them strong, and that might work for a little while until they reach an opponent who is more experienced and they know how to deal with these things. And once again, they'll be forced to hit some sort of a wall where they have to actually spend the time again to actually learn how to use the character effectively. And another point is that characters may be strong at lower levels than they are at higher levels. So some what you might call noob-friendly characters. An example would be Zangief in Street Fighter 4, where his lariat is it was very hard for new players to deal with, and it's very easy for new players to spam. And it's very easy to get wins just by spamming lariat because people didn't know how to punish it and they didn't know how to fight against Zangief. And a lot of new players might think, well, Zangief must be the strongest character in this game because I'm getting so many easy wins. But as we all know, Zangief is not a top tier character in that game, and he actually loses a lot of matchups at much higher levels and makes it very difficult. But at the beginner level, he may be quite strong. So if you actually do want to use Zangief, like I chose, you will hit a wall and you won't be able to do these things, which may work against inexperienced players. But you have to actually learn how to play him properly and actually sit down and learn the character throughout. And that part could be quite hard and frustrating. For example, if you had to fight a really good Dhalsim player or a Sagat, they can keep you out very easily, and you really have to figure out ways around those difficult matchups, which forces, again, to push yourself out of your comfort zone and actually really sit down. Which leads to my final point, where I see a lot of people, well, not a lot, just there are a couple of type of people that are willing to sit down and actually figure out how to make their game stronger, how to use their characters and get around the weaknesses of their characters. Or there's other people, once things stop working, they'll rage quit, or they'll maybe even just give up mid-match or just stop playing, say, you know what, I don't want to play against this guy. He obviously knows more of the game than I do. I'd rather go back and play the inexperienced players and beat up on them instead and keep doing whatever it is I've been doing that works against them. And that's what I want to do. But that's actually doing themselves a disservice. They won't be improving at the game. Instead, they'll keep using whatever that is that may work up to a certain level. Kind of like in RTS games, you might use the cheese cannon rush strategy. It might work at lower levels, but at higher levels, people actually know how to deal with that and it won't work anymore. So you will have to learn something else. And if you keep quitting, not pushing yourself past that barrier, you'll never improve. And playing the stronger opponents will actually, instead of looking at it as a wall, if you look at it as an opportunity where they are the people that actually know what the weaknesses of your game are, because if somebody's beating you consistently, they obviously know the weaknesses of your game and they're exploiting it in order to win. So the quickest way to figure out what that is to actually ask that person. It's like, hey, what am I doing wrong here? Can you tell me that what is it that's causing me to lose all the time? And it could be something very straightforward, like you constantly do unsafe special moves without thinking about it. You're just doing it. And I see a lot of new players do that and they don't even realize this. And I tell them, listen, like I'm punishing you every time you're doing this move. Just kind of stop throwing it out there randomly. And then just by doing that, you'll have improved your game. And that's how you eventually grow and become stronger. And you do that enough times and then you know all the things to do and all the things not to do, and that's how you become a better player. Lastly, I want to leave you guys with another clip of Dr. K video where he explains how to push yourself beyond your capabilities in order to become a better version of yourself. He's talking about something in general, but I think it really applies to fighting games as well. And you can apply that to other aspects of your life as well. I'm sure you'll find that very useful.
And then the last thing that becomes incredibly important is to stretch your capacities. So whatever you decide to do, and this is so subtle, right? They'll say like, oh, you should, maybe I'll like chess. But when they go to play chess, they never really test themselves. They don't let themselves lose. They'll maybe beat up on noobs. These are people who are basically smurfing IRL, right? They always put themselves in situations where they do not have to test themselves. And why do they never want to test themselves? Because this feels empty inside. I have no faith in here. So the safest thing to do is to never put myself in a situation where I'm stressing my capacities. I'll run a 5K, but I won't run a full marathon. So as much as you can, push yourself, stretch your capacities, because that's when you discover who you are.
All right, that's it for the video. Guys, thanks for watching. And the next video, I'm going to be talking about traits of a good player and what different traits a competitive good player has in the compared to, say, a beginner player, and what you can do, try to emulate these traits and try to build them up for yourself in order to become a better player. So thanks for watching this video, guys. Like and subscribe to my channel, leave a comment below, tell me what you think about my videos, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.